It's the TeamRedEye ShitShow. Today I'm joined as always by Rabid Waffles, and today we got Chudders, also known as Scarecrow. We will have links to his information in the description.
Link in bio.
Yeah, link in bio. There you go. So what you guys been up to lately? You seen any good movies or shows you want to talk about?
I've been reading.
Yeah.
What? I've been reading stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Stuff related to manga.
You are so specific and easy to deal with. How about we talk to someone who has more than 5 brain cells? You, what about you, man?
I've got like a backlog of stuff, but yesterday I watched for the first time I've been wanting to watch it for about 25 years. I watched Angel Cop yesterday.
Yeah, I've never seen that. How is it? I've seen the trailer for it.
It's, that icon. I don't know if you've seen like anything else other than the trailer. You know the iconic scene where there's like the ultra-violence and the right at the beginning where the girl gets shot in the face, and just that's like that's like the best animated scene in the entire series.
Okay, yeah.
Just that one scene.
I think I've seen that scene, but I'm not 100% sure.
You'll know it, like, when you see it, you'll be like, yeah, that's from Angel Cop, basically. Okay. I thought it was alright. I mean, I've been wanting to see it since, like, the 90s, so I thought it was fine. It's obviously a casualty of, like, 90s manga UK dubs as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So a lot of swearing, unnecessarily. But,
yeah, a bunch of added-in dialogue that wasn't there originally.
That's why I like manga UK dubs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyone involved in manga is just like, well, the company manga, both UK and US. They always do that. Say in the interesting thing is when I watch like the Devilman dub, like the manga entertainment dub here, it's American voice actors, but they use a lot of UK terminology. Like they say like knickers and I can't remember all of them, but they use a lot of words that we don't really use here. Which I'm familiar with, obviously, because I watch a lot of British stuff, but, like, it was interesting.
Yeah, I've sort of noticed that more kind of growing up. Like, a lot of, have you seen Dominion Tank Police or New Dominion Tank Police?
Can't say that I have.
Because a lot of the voice actors and actresses in that did, like, a lot of stuff from, like, you'd find like the same bunch doing like, you'd always find like sort of now like Funimation, you always hear like the same voice actors doing similar stuff, and that sort of group. And a lot of the voice actors, from what I've sort of like, because I'm sort of researching what they're doing later on, a lot of the voice actors were British. So, I think that's kind of like how, that obviously when they do American, voices and stuff, but terminology or like slang or
getting a little bit. So yeah, Rabid Waffles, back to you. What manga have you been reading? If you're still there.
I've been reading the original Devilman again, which I told you about, and then I've been reading Berserk because I watched the anime and I thought that was good, and I've been reading Watamote.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have Berserk, but I haven't watched it yet. I've been meaning to.
The first episode I think you should skip and watch because I don't think the first episode can really win that well. I think you should watch the second episode. Watch all the episodes and watch the first one.
See, I'm gonna have to not do that just because out of principle I always gotta watch the first episode.
Okay, I'm just saying that the first episode does not describe the rest of the series well, because the first episode is the anime does the same thing that the manga does, where it shows what he's like in the future, and then shows his origin story, and then it goes back to where it left off in the future. But in the anime, it doesn't ever actually show the future. It just shows his origin story. But the first episode, for some reason, shows his future, which I don't really get.
Okay. Anything at any time. I'm trying to think of something myself.
No, I was going to mention as well, I started watching Devil Lady as well, on your recommendation.
Oh, okay, yeah. The anime 2 Devil Lady is great. It very hardly follows the manga, like, at all. Like, they've drastically changed even June's backstory. She's like a supermodel in the anime, where she's a feature in the manga.
Yeah, I mean, I've only got, because I had to order them, like, individual volumes first.
Mm-hmm.
But I managed to find, like, the complete set on eBay for, like, cheaper than buying them individually. So I've just finished volume 2, so I'm just holding out to get the rest through. But so far, I mean, you're right in saying that it's sort of, it does have a creepy atmosphere, sort of like, and so far my favourite episode is 3.
Okay.
Where, June's friend.
Kazumi.
Yeah, she, with, when the, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone watching or whatever, but what happens in her house and the parents and everything. Just that whole sort of build-up in that episode I thought was really quite creepy.
Oh yeah, they do a good job at that.
And that's been like favourite so far.
With that, when I actually reviewed the anime of Devil Lady, I actually hadn't seen the original Devilman OVAs yet. So I do think that actually had a lot of good build-up too, that I didn't give credit where credit was due when I mentioned that Devil Lady I thought was the only one that had a lot of build-up. I mean, I didn't say it was the only one, I don't think, but I kind of implied it. But yeah, Devil Lady definitely has a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm only on like volume 2 so far, but it's still. I think for me, this is getting a bit sort of like how I think of characters personally. Akira's a cooler character, but I can sympathise a bit more with. She seems like a more interesting character.
Yeah, I get
to
you.
me. Yeah, I mean, Akira's still cool, but I just think, because I haven't watched Crybaby yet,
Okay.
so I don't really know how much he changes, how he differs from the OVA, but June just seems more of an interesting character, because like you said, you can she's got this sort of inner battle with herself.
Getting a little bit more feedback again.
Questioning herself, doing what she's doing, and just seems more interesting to me, I suppose.
But yeah, I would agree. June definitely can be easier to relate to. I think she's... Like, I think Akira I prefer as a character, especially reading, like, all the different mangas I've read. But with June, I think that she's a more developed character than Akira is. Like, Akira, you don't really get a lot of development. He's just kind of the pure-hearted hero who becomes Devilman, essentially.
I want to say something about Devilman Crybaby.
What's that?
Because now that I've read the Devilman manga, I've seen the Devilman OVA, I've seen like all this other versions of Devilman that usually stick to the original art style. Now that I'm watching Crybaby, the designs of all the characters bug me a lot now.
And that was my problem the first time I watched it, because again, my introduction technically was Violence Jack. And then I watched the 70s series after that. Oh, he disconnected. And that tells me the echo's on your end, Rabbit Waffles.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to solve that, but I want to say now that with Crybaby is the art. Rio is the most off-putting character to me. Like, Rio looks really bizarre. His trench coat was cool in the manga, but now it looks like he has like a cone around him. And then not only that, but his haircut, along with his haircut, it makes him look like Oliver Tree. Like, he just looks bizarre.
Yeah.
That bowl cut.
I have some like issues with And I did figure out that the echo is actually on Rabbit Waffles' side and not yours.
Okay, right.
God, I can't believe the problems are being caused by him.
Right? You cause all the problems, Rabbit Waffles. But Chudders, what was your introduction to Devilman?
To say, I don't think told you how old I am, do you?
No, I don't think you have.
Right, I'm about 10 years older than you.
Oh, okay.
So, the first, I first sort of like found out about Devilman was on the old VHS trailers on Manga UK videos.
Okay.
It was I think it was for the second volume, but
Okay.
it was just like one of those things where it was like watching the trailers. I just thought it just seemed cool. So it was really difficult to get hold of like anything like sort of like anime sort of back in the day, like sort of early mid-90s. It wasn't, that easy to get hold of.
Right.
So like there was like, I was just going off on a bit of a tangent now. We had one store sort of like in our town, and so they had like one section, and it was just filled up with like all kinds of like sort of foreign films and like anime and stuff, and I just picked up anything that was sort of like legally old enough to buy. I would just pick it up and buy it because I didn't know if it was going to be gone, the next time I'm there, or so I just kind of picked up as much as I could, and Devilman was one of them. And
Okay.
so it can't have been that long after it was actually released on video over here. So yeah,
Okay.
it must have been like sort of like early 90s around then.
Have you ever read the manga?
No, I haven't actually. The most I've seen is just the OVAs, Devil Lady, and the Ammon Apocalypse of Devilman.
Oh, okay.
That's all I've seen so far. And I only recently picked up the DVD. I like the original Manga UK DVD of it. And so far that's it at the moment.
Okay.
But I'm sort of kind of looking into getting into like reading the manga series and everything, just because it's I credit you, because like since sort of like finding your channel and stuff, I've been kind of looking to get back into it a bit.
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of Go Nagai content on my channel, and
Yeah.
as I said during a stream, I'm not trying to be narcissistic or try and like put myself up, but I do think I probably have the most Go Nagai related content on my channel out of anyone else on YouTube.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, like the Anime Hero used to have me beat out, but I actually have checked back, and I think I outnumber him on that now.
You wanna know when I realized that I really liked Devilman?
When's that?
Because Devilman Crybaby was the first thing of Devilman I saw.
Right.
I think like the end of Devilman Crybaby was like the best thing I've ever seen like in anime up to this point.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's when I like to realize that that's when I wanted. That's when I liked Devilman.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit, what are each of your guys' favorite animes?
And that's been I think Rabbit Waffles mentioned it too. Lupin the Third.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen Lupin the Third. Well, I've seen parts of it anyway.
That's like hands down my favourite.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen like a ton of it, but I've seen like parts of the Castle of Castigliagro, I think is how you say it.
Cagliostro.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. It's.
What are you guys talking about?
Lupin the Third.
Yeah, like that, and Project Echo.
Oh, okay.
That is like, it's kind of like standalone anime films. That's my favourite, but my favourite series is Lupin the Third.
Okay.
Hands down. And that was, that's, like, most of the stuff I was sort of like really into has just been from seeing like Maggie UK video trailers. There was a trailer for Cagliostro on that, and found that. Again, not long after it was released, fell in love with it and tried my best to like hunt down the series and stuff. Because as far as UK releases go, in the 90s we had 5 films, and that was it.
Okay.
And then obviously there's like the newer series coming out sort of like in recent years, but in the UK, as far as official releases go, we haven't really got a lot. But
Yeah.
the US has so much, and like Italy and the US have like pretty much everything.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Italy, I'll let Rabid Waffles go here in a second on what his favorite is. But speaking of Italy, on a little bit of a tangent, Go Nagai has like a huge following over there. Like everything of his has been released there, even if it hasn't had a release anywhere else outside of Japan.
Yeah, that kind of mirrors Lupin as well, because they've always had it, so they've just get everything. I've noticed that with like Go Nagai stuff. They mentioning it because you said that, and then I look back and it's like, that's actually right. Like everything is over there.
Yeah. Like they actually have like the Violence Jack manga over there, which it's only been like released in like Japan and Italy, and I think maybe some Spanish-speaking countries, because someone told me they found it in Spanish. But I have the Japanese manga, which I try to read with Google Translate, which, as you can imagine, gives very mixed results at best. So what would you say is your favorite anime, Rabbit Waffles?
That is extremely hard for me to answer because I never I kind of just assume what my favorite things are, but I usually like several things equally. And for me, it would have to be like between probably Parasite, Devilman Crybaby, and the new Berserk 3-part series.
Okay. So the Golden Age arc, I think, is what they call those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which some people say has bad animation, but that one has good animation. There was another thing that came out after those 3 that had really bad animation.
Yeah, that was like what, 2016 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, with my favorite, obviously my favorite franchise should be pretty obvious. My favorite anime franchise is Devilman. However, not any of the single adaptations are my favorite individual anime. My favorite individual anime is Elfen Lied. But if we're looking at manga, Elfen Lied also isn't my favorite manga. My favorite manga is probably Ichi the Killer, but that's never had an anime adaptation other than one OVA episode.
Wait, I want to change my answer.
Okay.
I just remembered an anime that's better than everything I've mentioned. It's a little underrated Cartoon Network show I think we both know.
Oh, the really obscure one.
Yeah, SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one where that calculating sociopath kidnaps a couple's young daughter to see how far her father will go to save his child.
Yeah. It's definitely an underrated classic.
I don't know how they mix up those descriptions so much. There was one I saw for Peppa Pig on Netflix where it was saying like something about World War II and like some sort of death factory or something. I don't remember, but it's like that's clearly not what Peppa Pig is.
Wow. That's yeah. That reminds me of like Amazon, like when you get like you get recommendations, like in your Amazon lists and stuff. I was recommended a lot of like Peppa Pig stuff. like in the night, it's like children's stuff. Because I bought the special edition of Mortal Kombat 9.
Okay, that's weird.
I know.
How does Mortal Kombat 9 translate to let's recommend you some children's shows?
I don't know. It might. I was guessing that because because I bought like the special edition secondhand. The listing might have been in Toys and Games.
Yeah, I guess. And I wonder if there's some connection. I don't know if you're familiar. There was like this children's cartoon of Mortal Kombat in like the 90s called Defenders of the Realm.
Defenders of the Realm.
Yeah.
I've got those on DVD as well.
Yeah, I've been meaning to import those because we don't actually have DVDs of those over here.
No. Yeah, that's interesting as well because we've got in the UK we got the DVDs. But there's been I can't remember what it's called, but the episode with Scorpion has basically never been released in the UK, from what I read.
Huh.
It's like, I think in like Poland or Australia or somewhere, they've got all the episodes, but that one episode's never been released in the UK on DVD.
That's odd.
I know. I've seen it, and I can't see what's wrong with it. I don't know. But I just thought that's quite interesting.
And speaking of episodes getting left off, I know, I don't know if you're into South Park, but I know season 14 in the UK and just in Region 2 in general, they don't include the 2 banned episodes from season 14 in that release, only in the Region 1 release.
Huh. Is there, like, any reason you can think why, or...
So the reason those episodes were banned was because there's a huge subplot that's heavily focused on the Muslim prophet Muhammad.
Alright.
And I wonder if maybe they just didn't want to have that there, not to cause issues with, like, the Muslim community or something like that, because that's why the episodes are banned, because they got terroristic threats at Comedy Central.
I wouldn't be surprised, because that sounds like something that would cause something to be banned here, to be honest.
And, like they obviously are banned here, too, on TV, but they're included on the DVDs, although the second part, because it's a 2-part episode, the second part actually is censored, but even on our release. There is an uncut version that got, like, leaked online, and I've seen it, and the censorship is total bullshit on the DVD version, because they bleep out Kyle's speech at the end of the episode on the DVD version, and his speech doesn't even mention Muhammad. It just basically talks about how effective, like, threatening someone with violence is to persuade them to do something.
I always find it weird when they, cut and edit stuff out.
That episode was hard for me to find, and the only reason I wanted to watch it was because it had the redhead kid come back.
Right, yeah, so this is technically a spoiler, but I don't know if people care about South Park spoilers. But there's
you don't want to ruin South Park for some people.
What's that?
You don't want to ruin South Park for some people.
Oh yeah, it's such a plot-driven show. But no, in episode 201, the second part of the banned episode, there's actually a scene where it's revealed that Scott Tenorman, the kid from Season 5's episode Scott Tenorman Must Die, is actually Eric Cartman's half-brother, and so when Cartman killed Scott Tenorman's parents, he actually killed his own father. And there's no indication of that unless you've seen the banned episodes, or if you've played the video game Tenorman's Revenge. That game actually is, like, entirely based on that subplot. But
is there ever a time where Cartman's legitimately cared about somebody else in the show South Park?
I would say he has. He has a bad way of showing it. I do think he cared about Heidi in, like, the later seasons. Like that relationship, even though he was a complete and total manipulative asshole and also tried to get rid of her multiple times. I don't know, it's hard to say. I'd say probably not, like, in the grand scheme of things. Everything's all about himself.
Something I'm even more curious about is, Light Yagami actually shown he cares about any of his family in the show?
Yeah, so when he loses his memory, absolutely. Like, he cares deeply about his family when he doesn't know that he's Kira.
Why does he care about his family then, but not when he is Kira?
So, I think he does care, but he's got this god complex where he thinks that his goals are more important than that.
It's very odd, but and then he starts caring about his girlfriend too.
Which one?
The,
Because he's had like 3.
what's her name? Is it like Misa?
He doesn't give a
Amane,
fuck
or...
about Misa. I mean, well, I guess he kind of does when he loses his memory, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like, because he doesn't want to take advantage of her or manipulate her, which is things that he does all the time when he actually has his memory.
Which is so odd. He all of a sudden actually cares about this girl who he only went out with because he wanted to manipulate her.
Well, and he doesn't seem to, like, care deeply about her. He just doesn't want to, like, use her like he was willing to do before.
I think he'd be like, wait a minute, I'm dating this girl, I gotta break up with her.
Yeah, well, remember, he kind of denies dating her. He's like, everything's all one-sided when Elle asks him about it after he loses his memory.
I don't know, I don't remember.
What's your guys' favorite animation studio?
PBS Kids?
It's not an animation studio, but okay. That's a programming block. I'd say for me, it's got to be Madhouse. I like Madhouse a lot. They did, like, Death Note, they did Monster, they did One Punch Man. They did a lot of things. Did Black Lagoon.
Dick?
I heard you say Dick, but that's all I heard. What'd you say?
Company Dick.
Oh, Dick. Oh, yeah.
They make kid shows. Dick. I love Dick.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, at the end of, like, old kids shows, it used to go through, like, the window and be like, Dick. You know?
Oh, right! Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Dick.
Yeah, okay, that took me a second.
No, it took me a minute. I was just like, what?
But, you know, kind of changing subjects again, but again, that's what these shit shows are all about. With what's it called? With a lot of U.S. shows, especially older ones, they don't even get DVD releases here in the U.S., but for some reason, over in Australia, they, like, almost always get them.
Yeah, I found that too.
The only way to get the 70s Spider-Man show is bootleg. So there's an old Spider-Man show.
Like an American
That's
one?
in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one too much.
But you can only get it through bootleg.
Because I know you can only get, like, at least over here, you can only get, like, the Japanese Spider-Man bootleg, too, like the Power Rangers type one.
Yeah, because that one inspired Power Rangers.
Yeah, it came before Super Sentai did, so...
So I think like, Devilman should get more credit for inspiring Berserk and Parasite.
Well, the creator gives it credit. That's the thing. The creator of Berserk has been very vocal about the fact that his 2 main inspirations were Devilman and Fist of the North Star, so...
Yeah, but, like, most people that talk about Berserk and talk about Parasite don't give Devilman credit.
Yes, but there's a subgroup of the Devilman fan base that likes Crybaby better because of the art style, which is exactly my problem with Crybaby, even though I still like it.
Oh, man, I hate how people... I hate how people think that, like, people will say that, oh, the art style actually makes it better than the manga because it gives it its own unique style. Like, the manga clearly had its own unique style as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Go Nagai has a very distinct style. Like, anytime I see something that's drawn in that style, I immediately know who made it. The same thing's true with Toshio Maeda, which is how I found out about Nightmare Campus. Because on one of my hentai DVDs, there was a ad for it. And I saw these big, thick blue eyebrows, and I'm like, that's a Toshio Maeda work. That's totally a Toshio Maeda work.
The hair always gives it away for me for Golden Guy.
Yeah, it's true, it does, because he's always got the big sideburns.
Something I noticed about the manga for Devilman is, this isn't a complaint, because I still like her character, but Miki is not, like, written very well as a woman.
Wow. In what way do you mean, specifically?
She doesn't act at all like most women act. She's like, oh man, Devilman makes me so horny right now. Or, she literally talks like that. She talks like, oh man.
Yeah, she does.
Devilman
She's such a
is making
flirt
me...
in the manga, which doesn't translate into Crybaby at all. Or into the OVAs, for that matter.
I was going to say, because I haven't seen the 70s Devilman series yet. What's she like in the 70s series?
So in the 70s series, I'd actually say she's by far the best version of Miki because she has so much more development. She's still kind of a flirt, not to the degree that she is in the manga, but she's very
she's also a bit of a meanie linguini.
Yeah, she is. She's kind of she's always kind of harsh with Akira, and well, I say Akira, but in the 70s version, he's actually not Akira. He's Devilman, which, if you don't know the 70s series, actually, Akira dies in the first episode, and a demon by the name of Devilman possesses his corpse and takes his place.
Right, okay.
But Miki herself is actually really well developed. She's by far my favorite version. She's got a lot of personality. She constantly gets mad at Akira, quote unquote, and she's also very kind of playful, but she's also serious at times. And Akira's always like fighting over her. Like there's this other character named Himura, also known as Himmler, depending on the translation, which is an interesting name because I'm pretty sure Himmler was Hitler's right-hand man. But anyway, Himura is basically the Rio surrogate because Rio doesn't actually exist in the 70s anime.
Yeah, I heard that much.
Yeah, and so Akira's always getting in fights with this Himmler character for like the first like probably 15 episodes. But he's an interesting character. But like Miki's always breaking up their fights because she doesn't want them fighting over her.
I think the 70s Devilman has the most badass version of Akira, because like he's always on his motorcycle, he's literally whipping people with his belt.
Well,
I think he's a cool guy.
And the interesting thing about that is in the manga and the OVA is Akira doesn't even have a motorcycle, but Dante from Demon Lord Dante did have a motorcycle. So when they made the 70s series, they clearly took that from Dante, which, if you don't know, is the prototype Devilman. Essentially, they use that in the anime, and then, but in Crybaby, they do give him a motorcycle as well.
Something I've noticed is, like in Devilman Crybaby, where he has track, but he doesn't in the manga. But what's weird is Shinichi from Parasite has a track class.
So, the track thing, that's actually from the Devil Lady manga. They actually adapted that from the Devil Lady manga. Crybaby actually takes elements from some of the sequels as well.
I really want the next season to be Violent Jack.
I do too, but it's not going to happen.
It should.
It should, definitely.
I haven't seen but it should. I very rarely hear people, talking about Violence Jack now.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you got this whole subgroup of the fan base who argues with me about it and says that it's not a Devilman sequel. Because they're like, Go Nagai said in this one interview that it's a separate series and isn't canon. And I'm like, okay. That doesn't change the fact that, heavy spoiler alert, but most people know this by now, in the final scene of Violence Jack, it turns out that Jack was Akira the whole time, like a reincarnation. And he turns into Devilman and he fights Satan.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's not canon to Devilman. Devilman is canon to it.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people try to twist that and say, well, no, it's a completely different series and it's a loose connection. But in my eyes, a loose connection it's not a loose connection if your main character is the main character from another work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Devil Lady is the canon sequel of the manga specifically. The anime is completely different from the manga. In some ways for the better, in some ways for the worse. Because overall I prefer the Devil Lady manga, but the anime has a better ending.
I mean, like, the show, Violence Jack takes place after Devilman and has the same main character as Devilman.
What a lot of people don't realize about Violence Jack is it's not just Devilman. It is like every Go Nagai series merged. Like, it's reincarnations of characters from like every single one of his works. Like, here, let me show you an example. This guy right here. That is Jim Mazinger. He's literally a reincarnation of the robot Mazinger Z.
See, what I find interesting about Go Nagai stuff, if it was any other author or artist putting characters from their other series into something, it would just be like an Easter egg cameo kind of thing. this kind of, like you said, they're sort of like reincarnations of characters or different, you know. If it was anyone else, it would just be like, oh look, there's a character, there's like a little drop-in Easter egg.
Right, and Go Guy does that too from time to time. But a lot of the times, there's more weight to it. Like, the character has more tiebacks, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, what I was like getting at. It's like, there's more weight when you see a character, because it can be from something else.
And, like,
You know,
I feel like I am literally the only person on the entire planet like this, but I am absolutely obsessed with Naojiro Abashiri. And if you don't know, he's a Go Nagai character that has appeared in almost every one of his series. And he's just this big, buff kind of, you know, thug character, but for whatever reason, I'm really attached to him.
yeah.
And he's appeared in, like, almost everything, like I said. Like, he was in, he originated in Abashiri Family, which is one of his more obscure works that I actually really like. And I have the manga back there, and I also have the anime on VHS. But, the Abashiri Family, it's also on YouTube, at least last time I checked, if you ever want to check it out. It's only 4 episodes long, and YouTube just cuts them all together as one movie. But the Abashiri Family is just about this, like, sort of Yakuza Mafia-type family. But as I was saying, the Abashiri Family, it's all on YouTube last time I checked. Just all 4 episodes cut together as one movie. And it's only at a VHS release. It's never at a DVD release. But that's where Naojiro started.
That's, see, like, because, like, the popularity of, like, Devilman now, and Discotheque getting, like, old licenses that people have just forgotten, that's something I would love to them to get hold of, to release.
Yeah, I'd love for them to get, like, Abashiri Family, Delinquent in Drag, because I've never even seen that one. I plan on buying it because it's on VHS as well. There's, I want them to get the original Doraemon Enmakun. I've seen the remakes, I've seen both remakes, but the original has never come out here, or even in English in general.
Yeah, it's just because they just have this knack of just, like, finding old, like, even, like, lost dubs for stuff as well.
Yeah, like, the Discotheque...
Like
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Like, they got... No, they've, a lot of the the very first Lupin TV special, really, I think up until all throughout the 90s, has only had, like, an English release on Manga UK.
Uh-huh.
And for, like, the longest time, that has only ever been in English release. I don't think it was released in the US. I think it literally just had a UK release. And Discotheque basically just, like, managed to screw up the license for, like, all of the early, TV specials for Lupin, and they've just been releasing them. And I think it's the first time that dub has been released on DVD.
Yeah.
So it's good to actually be able to get hold of it and, have a better copy, because my one's a bit knackered now.
Right.
It's like pushing 20 years, though. It's just nice to have them all on, like, DVD and Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, because, tapes, they wear out over time.
They just have this knack for, like, finding on series. Yeah, exactly, which is, like, why I sort of back a lot of them up now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're going to be lost.
But, as I was going to say before...
if you know much about...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go.
Okay.
Sorry.
But,
no, go on.
So Discotheque, when they re-released Violence Jack on DVD, they included a special feature where you could watch the unblurred, like, versions of the really graphic scenes. And the way they did that is they took the Hong Kong VCD, which is the only uncut release that has ever been done, and ripped it from...
Well, see, like... I can't think of another company that would kind of go to that length to, restore and find stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Violence Jack needs it, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Something new needs to come of Violence Jack now.
Absolutely.
No, I've only got the Manga UK cut of, like, the 3 episodes, which is obviously been I think even from like the US release has been sort of cut down dramatically as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Discotheque one, as far as I know, is the only one that... Well, there is an uncut one from, like,
Severely
this bootleg, too. But, like... Anyway, as I was going to say, the Discotheque release is the only one, not only that has the uncut cut, but it also has not only the dub, the sub, but then it includes the not only the uncut, but unpixelated versions of, like, the graphic scenes, specifically from Evil Town, obviously.
No, is that been released on DVD as well as Blu-ray?
Just DVD, I think.
Yeah, because I can't like run US Blu-rays or anything over here yet. So,
Right, well, like, with me...
if I can get it on DVD, I want to get it on DVD, yeah.
Yeah, with me, I can import DVDs, but not Blu-rays.
Yeah, same as.
You ever watch the Dragon Ball Z Speedy dub?
No, but I've seen a lot of clips of it.
Yeah, I own...
If I don't eat rice, dumb.
Yeah, exactly, that's the Speedy dub. But I have a few VCDs of it myself, some of which haven't even been uploaded to YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't upload them myself because I don't want to get a copyright strike, you know, but... You know, Toei, they strike the animation pretty quick. And no one knows exactly how many have been dubbed. I own episodes...
There's been no concrete evidence.
Yeah, I own episodes 3 and 4, and then I own a couple of the movies.
What would you say is an underrated anime?
Underrated is a hard term to determine. There's a lot of them, I'd say. You know what? This is one that a lot of people probably won't even know about. And just because I'm saying underrated doesn't mean I think it's, like, great. I just think it's massively underrated and overlooked. Bloodivores. Bloodivores had an interesting concept. It tried to do too much, though, and it got a little bit, you know, muddled, and it got a little crazy, but it was still interesting.
I think,
You know, I'd also say the Violence Jack OVAs were massively underrated.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, because a lot of people shit on the Violence Jack OVAs because they're like, oh, it's too graphic, it's too terrible, and it's like, it's graphic, sure, but, like, I've seen worse.
Yeah, I was about to say there's, like, a lot worse out there than Violence Jack OVAs.
Yeah, exactly.
Have they seen Dragon Ball?
No, you know what else I think is underrated? Like, all of Toshio Maida's, like, work, it gets, like, you know, a lot of people don't even want to, like, think about it because, like, it's, you know, tentacle stuff. But he usually has really good lore to his universes.
That's what I always used to think with
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, like, because again, I've only got like the UK releases, which have been like cut to hell.
Right.
But it kind of, in a way, that kind of helped me understand the lore and the backstory of it a little bit more, because there wasn't any sort of like these unnecessary sex scenes and stuff.
Yeah, and
I
like
kind of got into the story a lot more because of that. Because of the
I have the uncut version, which is really rare now. Like, the uncut version goes for, like, a couple $100 usually, on average. But I bought it for, like, $30, which I think is relative to about, like, I don't know, 20 pounds. But I got it around that price probably 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's shot up to, like, $200, $300, if not more.
That's lucky. Yeah, that getting it at that time, that was lucky.
Oh wait, you know what my favorite tentacle hentai is?
What's that?
The Squidward art from SpongeBob.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
Yeah, like, just going on SpongeBob for a bit. I watched that stream that you did only last night, from way back when you mentioned the whole an obscure Cartoon Network show.
Right, and then he said SpongeBob.
I was laughing as much as you because it was late.
Yeah.
And I was just like, did you really say SpongeBob?
Yeah, and I was also, like, when I streamed that, it was, like, 1 in the morning, and I had been up, like, all day, too, so it hit me even harder.
I don't know why you guys are laughing about this.
Well, I've only just recently heard it, so that's my excuse.
I'm just talking about one of my favorite animes that I just think is underrated.
Yeah, if I may interject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Officer Savage coming in here.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, like, because I know I mentioned it in the message, when I messaged about coming on here, about how I don't know if you've mentioned it before in a video, like how you kind of got into sort of like anime and stuff.
Yeah, I actually did do a video about that, but I'd be happy to talk about it again.
Okay.
So, first off, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I did watch, like, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, but I didn't know what anime was back then. I just thought they were other cartoons. So I just watched those every now and then infrequently, but I still didn't get, like, hooked on anime yet. But then, when I was around, I want to say 17, I saw Death Note for the first time, and I got really into Death Note. Because of Death Note, I kind of got hooked on anime as, like, a medium, and I started, like, watching more and more of it after that.
I think it's funny you say, 'cause that's exactly how I got into anime.
Yeah. Death Note's a good starter for a lot of people.
Like, I watched Naruto, and I watched Dragon Ball,
same.
a little bit of before then, but I didn't really get into it, and then Death Note made me want to look for it made me into anime, but now I'm more into, like, darker themed anime.
Yeah, same.
No, that's kind of funny because obviously growing up in like the early 90s and stuff, I got into it, so I got into all right away, all like the sweary, ultra-violent OVAs of the day. So that was kind of like, well, my first introduction to it was like, I had, I can't remember if it was like Christmas or my birthday or something. I was given like a Robotech VHS.
Okay.
And my understanding was like, oh, this looks like Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that, and initially I was kind of disappointed because it was like, why is there a load of human characters? I want to see like fights and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But because I wanted to watch more of this, find out more of this series, like what it is, because the tape I had only had 2 episodes on it.
Right.
So I tried to find out more, and the story of the tape I got, as far as I know, the tape that only had the 2 episodes was the only tape of Robotech that was released in the UK, from what I find out.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until years later that a defunct UK anime distributor released, I think, 7 volumes of it, which I managed to get hold of. And the more I watched it, the more it's basically like Macross is like character driven more than like the fights and stuff.
Right.
And from that was like my first kind of exposure to like anime. Really, it was just like watching this random Robotech video.
Right. Yeah, I was a little young to catch on to that craze, obviously. Like, with me, like, obviously I was born mid-90s, 94. So, throughout the 90s, I was very, very young. And it wasn't until, like, later on, and I used to make fun of people for liking anime, actually, back in, like, when I was, 10, 11. And then after I watched through Death Note and got really into it around age, like, 16, 17, I, got way more into it than some of the people I used to make fun of, ironically.
Hey, it shows that kind of thing. It shows you.
Yeah.
And I was lucky as well because my cousin was like, he had he had tons of like VHS tapes of it. So every week I'd just go around, borrow one. Next week return it, borrow another one. And that got me into like some of the series I still like now.
Right.
And obviously he had all like the violent AVAs, so obviously without parents knowing, I'd borrow them.
Oh yeah, of course.
They wouldn't discuss it.
As any good kid did.
Oh yeah, I was a goody two shoes, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, like my mom used to freak out
basically
if I'd play Grand Theft Auto, right? But I had this cousin that when he would babysit me, we'd play Grand Theft Auto, and we'd just pretend that never happened.
Yeah. What they don't know, you can't, what they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that was kind of like exposure really to it. Just like I got into it, and then I realised my cousin had a library of like anime VHS. So I was just like, hit the jackpot.
Hey, on the topic of violence in video games, I was originally against Mortal Kombat because of how violent it was. But then when I saw Jax make the world woke, that completely convinced me that Mortal Kombat had good intentions.
I'm not gonna wait for centuries for people to get woke. I can speed things up. I don't know why I made him sound like a fucking redneck, but whatever.
You know, that's the first time I've ever heard the word woke used seriously.
Right? Who the hell does that?
I remember telling him, I told my brother about that, and he for the longest time, when he played the game, he said, that's a fucking joke. He was like, you cannot be serious with this.
When I heard it, to me it didn't even sound like my first thought wasn't that it was something SJW. My first thought was that it was trying to appeal to like teens or something.
I don't. Either way, it's just bad dialogue.
I mean, you know, that's just hearing that is worth the price of the game alone. But then I wouldn't really recommend buying it.
Right?
Because I was an idiot. I bought the premium edition.
So did my brother.
He got my sympathy.
My brother buys into a lot of stuff though, like he's seen every single Marvel movie like in theaters, in some cases multiple times. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen my share of them, but I have nowhere near seen all of them.
No, I've only seen a handful. You know, I can't really say I've.
Well, there's just so many, and they just milk it.
I mean, before they sort of like. You know what? Actually, the only Marvel films I've seen are like, you know, when like the first couple of X-Men films came out, and like Spider-Man, you know, Tobey Maguire and stuff. They're the bulk of the Marvel films I've seen. I haven't really seen anything of like the recent sort of history, you know, films or anything releases.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, the X-Men franchise was better than the Marvel Cinematic Universe by far. Like, Logan, such a great movie. Have you seen Logan?
No, I've only seen, like I said, I've only seen like the...
Like X-Men 1 through 3?
First 3, yeah, I haven't seen anything after that.
Have you seen the movie Hogan? It's a movie about Santa Claus.
Are you talking about Santa with muscles?
No, that's an entirely different movie, you
That's
idiot.
a strange coincidence.
No, Santa with Muscle is a movie that has Santa in the title but has Hulk Hogan in it. But the movie Hogan is a movie with Hulk Hogan in the title, but Santa Claus is in it.
Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It's very popular.
But,
especially with
I like that obscure SpongeBob.
yeah, a little bit less obscure than SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what Hogan is.
You hear that rumor about how they're thinking of possibly bringing Blackadder back?
No.
Yeah, have you watched Blackadder? I mean, maybe it's racist for me to assume that you have, but...
Because I've seen, like, your DVD collection, you know, British comedy DVD collections and stuff. It's like pretty much what you've watched and like I've seen as well. So you can assume all you like.
So they've discussed possibly bringing it back. Now this to me sounds like it could go either fantastic or awful because of what they said they might do. They want to set it in modern times. First off, that's like, I don't know about that. But second off, they want to have Blackadder himself as a college professor. Again, I don't know about that. But they also want to have it like, so they say, what they said in the interview was like, I think it was Rowan Atkinson himself being interviewed, but I'm not 100% sure. But he said, you know, with the older shows, they were essentially young characters who were kind of rebelling against the older establishment, whereas now they want to do older characters doing a show about how much they hate the modern youth. Which I think sounds great if it's done right, as long as it's not cringy and like loaded with modern social commentary.
I think that would be the problem, especially you can't really get away from that kind of thing now. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they would.
They'd probably screw it up. It'd probably be pretty cringy. But yeah, I don't know. Like they keep trying to reboot all these old shows, and part of me thinks that it's probably better if they just don't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I believe a lot of it is just sort of like brand, because they don't have to do any work really to.
Right, because you got a good name, good high-selling name, you're bound to get some money.
Exactly.
Don't know if I'm cool with them rebooting Jay and Silent Bob with all black characters.
Speaking of the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I actually think it looks all right.
I didn't think the trailer was very funny.
I thought it had a couple of good moments. It had some nice callbacks. I mean, granted, that's all it is nostalgia milking, but,
Yeah, I like Jay and Silent Bob.
That's really funny. What do you think? What do you say?
Dude, he said he likes Gay and Quiet Rob. We should do a Gay and Quiet Rob reboot episode.
Wait, all of the Sergeant Friends?
What about Sergeant Friends?
Has he seen all the Sergeant Friends?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've literally watched them multiple times. Fucking love them.
Wow, something I actually had help in doing.
Yeah?
All of a sudden, I like him more.
Yeah, if you don't know, literally the way those episodes get quote-unquote written, because we don't actually write anything down, I come up with an idea, he comes up with an idea, and we just kind of bounce back and forth until we get an episode.
Cool. I mean, if that works.
Well, and to be fair, there are some episodes that we plan out way far in advance. Like, we have this whole story arc planned out for, like, multiple seasons of the show.
I mean, I think, like, the two favourite ones are when, like, Pedro's sister comes to visit. And, I can't remember the title, but, Sarge goes on, Sarge and Pedro go on their sort of like quest journey to the Himalayan mountains.
Oh, a very important quest.
That one. Fucking love that.
Yeah, see, that one is actually establishing channel lore, because, believe it or not, I have kind of a channel lore that I have planned out, too.
Right.
And
My friend Zach says that the only time he laughed at a Sergeant Friends thing was when I started chewing really loudly.
Your friend Zach has no taste, though. Like, he criticizes the stupidest things. Like, I love criticism because it helps me improve, but his criticism is just weird. Like, remember you told me he didn't like my channel trailer because it was quote-unquote just a bunch of weird shit? That's not even what it was. It was like a highlight reel of like a bunch of stuff I've done on the channel. The only reason he thought that is because it started out with me saying, do you want to see some weird shit?
If he said it was a bunch of weird shit and that's the first thing you said, it's kind of done its job then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. But it's like, what else does he expect from a channel trailer? It's just a highlight from several different videos, you know?
You know what's some good karma?
What's that?
Legless dad, he got mad at me for saying Bill Cosby did nothing wrong, and now he's going homeless. That's some good karma.
You need to make a Sergeant Friends movie.
At some point, that'd be nice. Here's some insider information. We actually, there's, several new characters that get introduced in the next episode we've already recorded. Takeshi Kitano is going to be, a recurring character throughout the series. And I don't know if you've seen any of his movies.
Yeah, I've seen.
Okay, but you know how, his character almost always dies in his movies?
Yeah.
So there's going to be, an ongoing joke where Takeshi is basically like Kenny from South Park, where he dies and then comes back with no explanation.
You're going to draw attention to it as well.
Yeah, well...
And you just...
might as well. But and the design I went with in drawing him, I used the Takeshi's Challenge Famicom game design for the character.
Wow.
How does that game end again?
Oh, it ends with a message that tells you... so, here's the message you get for completing Takeshi's Challenge. Now, the way the game actually ends is you get the treasure, and then it says, the end. But then if you wait at the end screen for 5 minutes, you get this message. You actually bothered to finish this crappy game? Sucker. Don't take it so seriously. Like, the whole point of that game is just to shit on gamers. Like, that's the whole point of the game.
Like, Dark Souls, like, at least that game rewards you when you beat something that's really hard.
Uh-huh.
But Takeshi's Challenge just craps on you more.
They should implement Takeshi's Challenge into, like, newer Dark Souls games.
Yeah, to get to the next stage of Dark Souls, you have to complete Takeshi's Challenge in, like, 5 minutes.
Well, Takeshi's Challenge is already almost exactly like Dark Souls.
But you just don't get rewarded at all for it.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, you could speedrun that game pretty quick if you do the airport glitch, where you just jump through the map.
I haven't beaten any of the early Sonic games, because they're just too much like Dark Souls. They're,
I hate that that's such an accepted term in gaming journalism now. This game is the Dark Souls of shooters. This game is the Dark Souls of I said shoals, Dark Souls. Everyone's wearing some Dark Souls now.
Skyrim's is the Dark Souls of medieval-themed games.
You know, that was my biggest problem with Dark Souls, actually, is when I first played it, I was expecting it to play like Elder Scrolls, and then it didn't.
Wait, no.
I was going to say, because it's a medieval-themed game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Second. Wait, there's something I gotta tell you.
What's that?
Dark Souls 2 is like the Dark Souls of sequels. I gotta go now.
All right, man.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Take care, my child.
But yeah, I mean, definitely interesting to have a different take on the shit show for once. Because usually it's just me, him, and occasionally Anthony.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say before I end off this episode?
No.
All right, well,
No.
I think this has shown that I think this is a pretty good fit, so I see no problem adding you to the team. So, seems like a good fit to me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, my child.
Thank you much.